Good morning. It is I, Triple O Firestone, and this video is actually going to be a response to Jared, aka Wolfkang1, to his Strange Corner episode 5. What I'm actually going to be talking about is something very similar to what he was talking about, because obviously if anyone's watched the video you will know that he was actually talking about a bizarre interview that he had. Well, I too actually had a really bizarre interview just last year, and I would like to share with you all my experience of this bizarre interview. I gotta love Aero hot chocolate, guys. It's so creamy. So last year, literally it was shortly before I got my last job. It was, what was it? It was roughly about a month before I started my last job, which I recently finished. So anyway, I got a phone call. I'm not going to mention the name of the organisation because it's such a big organisation. I really don't want to mention the name. John TF knows, he probably knows what I'm talking about. So, get a phone call on the Tuesday, basically saying, you know, we're looking for Mr. Maltby. I said, yes, that's me. And, you know, it's regarding the position you applied for, but would you still be interested in an interview? So naturally, yes, I am. I said, great, so can you please come by for 11 o'clock on Friday? Sure, no problem. So after basically getting a few bit of information off them, you know, whereabouts are you based, so on and so forth, interview booked and sorted. Now, keep in mind this is the Tuesday, right? Thursday comes, I get a letter through the post, right? This letter is from the organisation contacting me about the interview, and upon seeing said letter, I just thought, oh, it's probably just a confirmation letter because they've already rang me. No doubt they've rang me to confirm just in case I didn't get a letter on time. So I open up the letter. However, it isn't a confirmation letter, and this is where it starts getting weird. The letter says, Dear Mr. Maltby, you recently applied for said vacancy, blah 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 blah. Unfortunately, you have not been successful in this application and we will not be granting you an interview, blah 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 blah. We will be keeping you on file for 6 months, blah 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 blah, and so on. So I read it again and I thought, well, this can't be right. They rang me on Tuesday confirming I had an interview. So how come I got a letter telling me I haven't? Now, I wasn't too concerned because I've heard stories of this happened to some people before where they've got a letter from the post saying they haven't got an interview, but they've received a phone call saying they have. And because it was Thursday, and I thought, right, well look, you've got confirmation on Monday that you have an interview on Friday. I just thought, right, I'll go to the interview because as far as I'm concerned, I've got it because they told me over the phone. They rang me to confirm it. Thought I'll take this letter with me just in case if there's any kind of mix-up. I can say, well, wait a minute, you know, you did ring me, but I did get this letter, maybe, you know. So Friday comes. So I'm dressed up in my best, ready to go. Got a letter in hand. Got a copy of my CV. Got a pen. Got a bit of paper just in case I jot anything down. You know the drill. So I get there, and I get to the place. Ooh, say 15 minutes. So about 11:15 I get there, and obviously I had actually had no information of where I was supposed to go. I mean, I hadn't been told if there was an entrance you had to go through. I mean, I thought, so I went around the back of the store, but I couldn't find any staff entrance of any kind. So I thought, well, that's really weird. So I went in the main door, and I went up to the nearest member of staff that I could find. I just said, you know, I'm here for the interview. He said, yes, you need to go through the back. And he just pointed to the back of the store, but with no indication of where I was supposed to go. So I went over to the back of the store, and there was 2 big double doors that basically said staff only on them. And in all honesty, I didn't go through them because I thought, well, am I supposed to go through those doors or the other door? Because there was another door just away from there. And another guy showed up, all dressed in his best, and he was obviously for an interview as well. And he said, said to me, excuse me, but are you by any chance here for an interview? And I said, yes, I am. And I said, I have no idea where I'm even supposed to go. And he said, me neither. So we asked again, we just double checked, said, well, sorry to hassle you, but we're not exactly sure where we're supposed to be. We've got this interview, but we don't know where it is. And then this member of staff said, oh, don't worry, it's straight through those double doors that say staff only, and there'll be somebody in there to meet you. So we went through, but there was nobody there. So, mind you, there was me and this other guy, dressed in our best, in the back part of this place, where, and we're thinking, well, what are we supposed to do now? Because there's nobody here, and we couldn't see anybody around, and so we waited. And a good 10 minutes passed and somebody shows up. And it's, are you here for the interview? Yes. He says, right, you need to sign in. So sign it. And then we get taken up to this room, which I can only assume is a room where the members of staff have their dinner break. Walk in, room's full of people, probably at least 10. No, it was more like 24 people altogether by the time everybody arrived. And I was sat there and I was thinking, great, I bet this is a group interview, and I hate group interviews. So anyway, I sat in this room and we're waiting. 11 o'clock comes and goes. And it's about 10 past 11 that a member of staff walks in. And then somebody inquires as to, what exactly going on, because we're all sat in this room waiting. And some people that were there obviously had jobs themselves. I mean, it's the classic thing, maybe someone's thinking about a change in employment, and a few people were saying, I can't really stick around because, I've only taken, say, a half the day off, and I need to get back to my usual work at so and so time. And he went to, the person was on his way. They showed up at about 5:15, 5 minutes later. So by now it's 15 minutes into what was supposed to be the interview. And they walk in with these stickers with people's names on. And they start putting them on, sending out to people. And I don't get one, so I'm thinking, well, maybe they miscounted or something, So they say, and I just say, excuse me, but I haven't been given a name badge. And they go, look on this, go, oh, sorry, what's your name? I said, oh, it's Sam Maltby. And he looks on the list. And here's where things get even weirder. He said, oh, I can't find your name on the list. And I thought, please don't tell me that letter I got was actually true and I haven't got an interview. And I said, well, I definitely got a phone call on Monday afternoon confirming I had an interview here at 11 o'clock. And by now it's pushing 20 past 11. So they both say, for some reason they say, right, well we'll go and check the files. Why it took both of them to do that, I don't know, because both of these, I assume they were managers, walked out of the room, leaving us all there again. And it really didn't come back till 11:30, maybe pushing 25 to 12. I'm not kidding, by this time quite a few of the people in the room are starting to complain. One guy say, he needs to be back at his workplace for 1 o'clock. It's pushing 12, so you can imagine some people start to get a bit annoyed. So said manager's come back into the room. And here's where things get really weird. He goes, oh, well, sorry, Mr. Maltby, we had you down as John Maltby. The first thing that came into my mind was, that isn't possible. You could not have me head down as John Maltby, because that isn't my name. Yeah, my middle name is John, my full name being Samuel John Maltby, but on the application it didn't ask for your middle name, it just asked for your first and your last name. So there's no way they would have had me down on me down as John Maltby. It would have been Sam Maltby. So I thought, right, this ain't good. Please I bet you I'm not even supposed to be here for this interview, and you've messed up by ringing me and telling me I've got it. But I bet you'll let me have it. So it's pushing now. By this time, it's probably starting to push on to 20 to 12. So mind you, the interview should actually have preferably started almost a good 40 minutes ago. So we're all taken into this other room, sat down, and we watched this little film, which all this film was really glorifying the company. You know, it was just interviewing members of staff and them telling you what it was like to work there. Great. So that was about 10 minutes of time wasted. So basically by this time it's now pushing on for 12 o'clock. And I'm pretty sure at least one or two people by this time actually had to make their apology and say, look, I'm very sorry, but I can't hang around, literally, you know, I've got to be back to my workplace at 1 o'clock and it is now pushing 12 o'clock and I don't really have the time to stay, I'm sorry. So if I remember correctly, at least 2 or 3 people actually ended up leaving. They never had the interview. And all basically because these seem to be dilly-dallying and taking forever to sort stuff out. So after we saw this video proclaiming how great it was to work there from all his employees, we went into the main room where the group interview was going to take place. Let me describe it to you. It was a big empty storeroom, more like a warehouse where they kept the stock. It was freezing cold, it was damp, and we were all sat on these very uncomfortable wooden chairs. So you can kind of imagine being sat in this big room with all these other people, freezing cold, uncomfortable in your chair, and your feet are starting to get wet because it's damp on the floor. Great. So we're sat at this table with 4 or 5 people on the table each. We start out by introducing ourselves, telling everybody there what we've done work experience wise. Then after that, you had to basically do all these team tasks. So after they've done all these team tasks, you then got who I can only imagine was a manager of the place, would ask everybody individually a set of questions and stuff like that. So by this time it's pretty much going on for 1 o'clock. So it's been 2 hours now, and we've probably spent the last 40-45 minutes in this freezing damp room, shivering and, you know, generally thinking that this is a complete waste of time. So after a while, finally, after doing a team building thing that was basically designed, you were given like a budget, you had to say, right, you had to plan a Christmas party with this budget. Then after that, you had to combine certain items and say which one was better and which one was better for this and that and all sorts of other reasons. So it's now pushing, I think it's now going on for 1:30 by this time. Finally, they say, right. Oh, right, yeah. I actually need to point this out, actually, because this is one of the things that I really thought was just horrible, really, it was ridiculous. It turned out it would have been pointless even if you got the job, because the jobs they were offered were pointless. Basically, they had 4 jobs available, because they'd been interviewing the previous week. They'd already filled a load of the vacancies. They had 4 jobs available, all on contracts. It was only for a Christmas contract. The first one wasn't even worth mentioning, as it was 2 hours a week. So literally, you'd probably only be working a day out of that week for 2 hours. The second one was 4 hours, which probably meant you'd maybe split it up into 2-hour days, so you'd only be working 2 days a week. And then I think the last one they offered was about 2.5 days a week. And then they said, and this I thought was wrong, there's no way they should have said this. They said, It was obvious there was only 4 contracts left and there's 24 people left, so only 4 people were going to get the job. He said, however, if anybody there that interview was shown to be more progressed than somebody else who'd already got one of the contracts, they would actually contact that other person and say, sorry, but somebody's come along who do the job better than you. No, that ain't fair. They can't do that. You can't say to somebody who got the job only to ring them up a week later and say, oh sorry, but somebody else has come along and they're better, so we'll have them, not you. No, that is just not fair. But anyway, so let's say back to the interview. So like I said, this time it's pretty much over. And they say, right, we need all these people, so they read out the names, and I'm one of the names. And I'm not stupid, guys, because I've done a group interview before, and I knew as soon as I read out all these names, I thought, well, where are the people that haven't been successful? And I thought, and after I counted it out, I thought, right, that leaves about 10 people left. And I thought, out of these 10 people, only 4 of them are going to get the job. And so they're obviously going to interview all these people one-on-one, I assume. So all of us lot that had been called out got took into a separate room. Basically, just got told, we hadn't been successful. And I was like, yeah, well, whatever. To be perfectly honest, this has been a waste of time. And it seems like you haven't been organised. You haven't set the place up properly. Some people have had to leave because you've spent so much time dilly-dallying that they've had to leave because they've had to get back to their own places of employment. By the sounds of things, you made a mistake on my part, and I wasn't even meant to be here in the first place. So we all left, and I asked for feedback before I left. So, can I by any chance get a bit of feedback so I know what my performance was? I never got anything through the post or a phone call or anything. I never got any feedback from them. Anyway, as we left, the people that left alongside me, as soon as we walked out that building, literally, most of the people were just saying, that what a complete waste of time it had been. That it would, they would have been better just to have not come in, and it's a fair point, guys, because it was. And it was a complete waste of time. I mean, the interview was just poorly run, poorly managed, and he clearly didn't really seem to have a very good idea of who was there, who wasn't supposed to be there. So anyway, there you have it. That is my bizarre interview that happened just last year. Oh yeah, P.S. Jared, please confirm whether or not you are going to be at Auto Assembly 2012. So hopefully you will be. That is all. Peace out, guys.